stuck here. The cops won't bother me. First crash.
So yeah, there's a guy that I had no idea that existed named Bob Lazar, and I never really paid attention to any UFO stuff. I kind of did, but never gave it, you know, I took things with a grain of salt. I mean, it's kind of fascinating. Aliens. Everybody wants aliens to be real, including me. I do want aliens to be real. I just don't believe it. And I knew about Area 51 and that whole aliens thing, but I never thought much of it because I thought everything was fake. That is, until I listened to Bob Lazar. And a lot of people on the podcast and the comments are like talking about how Bob Lazar is lying, and I just don't see why he would lie. His life has been made much worse by the fact that he came out that he said all of this. And like, why would they try and erase like his history and where he went to school, where he worked? It just doesn't make any sense. No idea who Bob Lazar was before he came on the Joe Rogan podcast. I think it's fascinating that this guy has been kind of put through the ringer for coming out about UFOs. He shouldn't have done it. If he does work in top secret stuff, not keeping your mouth shut, if that's the case, that completely makes up. I mean, I understand why he was fired, but it seems like he was a very smart guy, and he built a jet out of like this little Honda car, and he was commuting on it every day. Very fascinating guy. I was very surprised that he did not come across as a crazy lunatic, kind of like what I had in mind for these alien and UFO people who are desperately trying to make UFOs real despite any evidence. The comments were talking about how, yeah, he's got a migraine because he is lying. I don't think that's the case. I think he had a migraine because he was stressed out, and that's pretty normal. I don't see how that's even like related. Like, I thought it was kind of a little weird that he had a migraine. I thought like he'd be a little bit more prepared, but as the podcast went on, he did, I think, redeem himself. But he didn't have to. I mean, like, he was pretty good even with the migraine. It was fascinating to hear. Like, I want this to be true, because it's fascinating. If there is an alien ship somewhere in Nevada, then it's just amazing that it produces its own like gravitational field. Like, that's insane. If that's the truth, then we're all doomed, because we're basically just alien food at this point. No, like, there's nothing to prove that this has happened. So we are kind of like going by word of mouth. Okay, you can listen to Bob Lazar, believe him or not, but motorcycle, look at that. Everybody's out enjoying the day. I don't know, today's kind of dangerous because it's so nice out. Yeah, I don't think Bob Lazar is lying. It's kind of weird, because I think my instinct would be to poke holes in his story, and I don't know his background. Like, I don't think Joe really grilled him. I think he was very nice to him. I don't think he was trying to grill him. I think kind of like what he did with Jack Dorsey from Twitter. He didn't grill Jack Dorsey, and I think a lot of people were very upset at him. But I kind of see that Bob Lazar seems a little bit fragile and a little bit beaten up from over the years of being abused and being called names, and I can see why this would happen. No idea if he's telling the truth. I think he is telling the truth, because he seems credible. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's lying. It does not seem like he's made a ton of money off of this. He seems like he has a successful business. The only one profiting, I think, is that guy Jeremy, who made the documentary on him. And I think he should profit. What's happening here? A copper. Yep, he just stopped like a Mercedes. Oh, he's pulling out now. Yeah, I was reading the comments, and I'm always surprised with YouTube comments because there's a lot of like hate. You could not do anything to them. Man, he caught another guy already. That was quick. He went from one guy that he caught to another guy. And he's pulling that Camaro over, and the Camaro is not even like... Oh, look at that. What is he doing? Oh, yeah, he is pulling over the Camaro. Okay. The Camaro doesn't know where to pull over. Oh, see, the cop wants him to go over to the right, and he doesn't seem to understand that. Oh, man. Yeah, the Camaro passed me. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, that Camaro passed me. He wasn't going that fast. I don't know if UFOs are real or not. I have no idea. Like, it just makes no sense to me. Like, I don't understand it, but what Bob Lazar said is fascinating to me. And I do like the idea of aliens being around, and I can see people getting like sucked into this rabbit hole trying to find what these things are. I do remember having or listening to another Joe Rogan podcast where he brought in some lady that wrote a book about aliens and Area 51, and I do remember she talked about Area 51, and like the little green men were basically children that were surgically altered by Russians, and the spacecraft and everything were dropped off by the Russians. So that could be one of the reasons. It could be that maybe there isn't any aliens at all. Maybe this is the government of Russia messing with the US. Because I do remember her talking about that some guy that worked there at Area 51, before he died, he did spill the beans to her. And of course, I don't know if this is true or not. When I think about alien people and UFO people, I'll listen to those people that get sucked up into a UFO and there's an alien probe going into their asses. That's kind of like what I think of it, and I think of them as like very crazy, loony people. But Bob Lazar doesn't come across as that. He comes across as a scientist, and he seemed to know a lot of very detailed things about physics and things that I don't really know. But I mean, I think Joe was pretty good with the podcast. I really appreciate Joe going all out and bringing this guy in who is a pariah, I think, at this point in the scientific community. But it was fascinating to hear, and man, if you have any proof that they exist or don't exist, write in the comments below. I don't think anybody could prove it. That's the thing. I don't think anybody can prove that it exists or that it doesn't exist. It's kind of like one of those God things. Can you prove that God is real? I can. Can you prove that he is fake? I can't. You can just believe. So it seems like this whole alien thing is more of a faith-based rationale that we give ourselves. Well, I really appreciate you guys listening to me, and I really appreciate Joe Rogan for putting out this podcast. Otherwise, I would not know who Bob Lazar was.